Badminton.
Okay, good morning everybody. Today's topic is second unit, theories of consumer behavior. In the title itself, you can know that the consumer behavior. Consumer behavior means what? Who are the consumers? We all are consumers. From the morning to evening, every day in each and every day, every individual, from the child to the old people, everyone will consumes. So here, the consumption here is the most important basis for the economic activity. So here the consumption means who does the consumption here? We all consumes. We all consumes here. And mostly why the consumption means what? The extracting utility from goods and services is called consumption, isn't it? Means here the utility is the most important basis, and also here because of the wants only, because of human wants, we are consuming. That's why we all are the human beings and we consume to satisfy our wants. The maximum satisfaction we need with the very at the lowest prices or for the affordable prices we can make, isn't it? So that's why here the consumption is the main basis for economic activity. And for the consumption, why do consumption means? Because for the utility here, in order to possess, in order to derive the utility here, we all consume. So here the utility here, we are having the so many types of utility. The utility means what? The want satisfying power is called as utility. Want satisfying power means here the utility we want to derive more means here the maximum satisfaction for whatever we need from whatever we get with our limited money. As you know, in order to fulfill our wants, we'll consume. The wants are unlimited. We are having but we have very limited incomes or the limited resources or means. So with the purchase to purchase the goods, we need means or we need income. And with that income here, we have to consume the goods and services, and we want to extract the utility from that. So here the utility here, the main basis for the economic activity here. Totally in this unit, we'll go through the utility approaches and basing on the laws with the help of the law of diminishing marginal utility, the law of equimarginal utility, and which are explained by the Marshall, popularized by the Marshall. And the next one is the modern theory approach here. Hicks and Allen, they explained the indifference curve analysis. So here, before going to this theory and these utility approaches here, just we'll go to for the utility. What is the utility? Means I told you that extracting the most satisfying power. Means the extracting utility from the goods and services is consumption. And here the most utility means here for the satisfying the wants here. To satisfy wants, will consume goods and services. So this concept is introduced by the economic thought by Jevons in 1871. And here mostly the want satisfying power of a commodity or service is called as a utility, isn't it? So here the utility, it is a subjective concept here. Means it is a psychological feeling. Here the feeling of a satisfaction or the consumer deriving from the goods is from the consumption of a commodity. Here it is an utility. But here we have the difference between the utility and usefulness. Utility and usefulness. Why? Because here utility and usefulness are different here. Commodity may satisfy the human want, but it may not be useful. Why it not be useful means here, useful means which doesn't harm the health. If you take a drunkard person or alcoholist here, who consumes the alcohol or other drugs here, they will also get the utility, but it's not useful to their health. It is harmful to their health. That's why here, whether a good is useful or not, but if it satisfies a human want, then we can say that it possesses utility. That's why utility is different from the usefulness. So here it is an utility is a subjective concept. It differs from place to place, person to person. As you know that we have the 4 types of utilities. They are the first form utility. by molding a raw material into the shape or giving a wood, turning the wood as a table or a chair here, we'll get some other utility here. We call that as a form utility, means the changing the shape here, we get some utility. And if you take the place utility here, place to place here, the utility will changes. If it is the log is in the forest, it is not useful. If it is brought to our houses, it will useful to construct our houses, for to make the furnitures, isn't it? And likewise here, the next we are having the service utility also. Service utility means from the services like the teachers, doctors, whatever the service, we will get the utility, that is a service utility. So here the form utility or the this place utility and time utility, according to the time also the utility will be there. In summer, if we drink the cool drinks, we will get some utility here, but not the hot drinks. In winter, we'll drink the hot drinks. Why? Because here we will get utility from that goods which you use in winter, isn't it? That's why here in summer we can't use the sweaters or all these things. In winter only we'll get utility from the sweaters in winter only. Means the time to time also utility will changes. These are the types of utilities. But here the different approaches are also there in the utility. What are the approaches? Means cardinal utility and ordinal utility. Cardinal utility means here, according to the here mostly the Alfred Marshall they followed this type of utility, the cardinal utility. Cardinal means measurable, measuring the utility. Utility is measured in terms of units, called as utils. Means here, as I told you, utility is a psychological thing and a subjective concept. But in the cardinal utility here, what the approach is, the important thing is the measurability. The utility is measured in terms of units called utils. Means the cardinal utility means the utility which is derived from the consumption. The consumption or of a good or the service can be expressed in terms of numbers. In terms of numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4. Likewise. Means here the terms of numbers, if you are using the one good here, when we are eating one apple, means we can derive that we got the 10 utils. Means here we are measuring the units here, measuring the experiences, we are measuring our satisfaction. So here measuring and the comparing the utilities is called as a cardinal utility here. It is derived from the consumption of a good which can be expressed in terms of numbers, called as a utility, a cardinal utility. Here cardinal numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4. So according to this, we can measure the utility and we can compare the utility. So the Alfred Marshall followed this type of utility here, cardinal utility here, this approach here. And in this, by using this cardinal approach, he explained the law of diminishing marginal utility and the law of equimarginal utility. DMU means here diminishing marginal utility. EMU means equimarginal utility, which are based on this cardinal approach. Means what here? Cardinal means what? The measure. You can measure the utility in cardinal numbers. Cardinal numbers means 1, 2, 3, 4. Likewise here, 1, 2, 3, 4 means by using the one apple here, if you get the one unit of good, if you get the, we can measure that we got 10 utils or the 10 units of the satisfaction. Means here we are measuring the satisfaction levels, what we are experienced. It is a personal thing, but here according to the cardinal here, we can measure the utility. So that is by measuring the utility in a numbers is called as a cardinal utility. It is mostly followed by these Marshall and Marshallian type of economist here. So here we can compare the different commodities and we can express which commodity give them more utility or more satisfaction than first one by measuring by the units. If you by using one unit, if you got the 10 from the first apple here, that is the 10 is the satisfaction level. If we are used a second one more unit here, if we got the 8, means the individual here, the each goods of the total utility here, we are measuring the individually here. The second apple may give the 8. So then we can compare that the first one is better than the second one. Means here we are comparing by giving the numbers to the utility. The 10 utils we got by consuming first unit, And by 8 units we got by using the second unit. So here from which unit we got more utility means from the first one. So we will say that the comparison is there, and also we are measuring the utility. That's why the cardinal approach here, it is by measuring the utility and comparing the utilities. So, and the next approach is the ordinal utility. Ordinal utility means here utilities will be derived from the consumption of commodities, cannot be measured quantitatively. Means here quantitatively means here we can't give the numbers. We got the 8 utils or 10 utils like that. Here just here we can compare by giving the ranks. By giving the ranks, it means here the utility which is obtained by the consumer here by using the different commodities, he can arrange these utilities in a serial order, means in a such as the 1, 2, 3, 4 and like, means the first, second, third and fourth. Fourth one means here the comparison by you, if he is using the first commodity, he will get this satisfaction, he will get more utility. And after when he use the second good here, we'll get somewhat utility. So he can say the second one is best than the first one, or the first one is best than the second one. Means he can compare, but now he cannot measure. Means if we are drinking, first we are drinking the tea, and after that if we drink the coffee, we can say tea is best than coffee, or coffee is best than tea. Means here the comparison between the goods, between the satisfaction levels of the human being here, it is the ordinal. Ordinal means nothing but comparison. Comparing by giving the ranks like the first one, second, third and the fourth one. Means here the numbers tells that the second number is more than the first number, or the third one is greater than the second, or the fourth one is greater than the third one. So it is not possible to say how much we got the satisfaction or the utility here by measuring. That's why here quantitatively we cannot measure utilities, but we can compare the utilities. We can compare the utilities by giving the ranks, the first or second or third one. Okay, so here this approach was used by the modern economists Hicks and Allen. Here, J.R. Hicks and R.J.D. Allen, they used this ordinal approach, utility approach, and they given their theory, indifference approach, utility analysis here, they used this ordinal utility approach. So the cardinal, the utility means what? Cardinal utility means here, it can be measured and can be compared. Utilities can be measured and compared. But in ordinal utility, we cannot measure the utilities here. The quantitatively, we cannot measure utilities, which are derived from the each and every unit we have, but we can compare the utilities. By eating the first apple here, we don't know. But after eating the second apple only, we can compare, is the first one is best one or the second one is best one. Means what we are doing here is the comparison. So here the comparing, the comparison can be possible in the ordinal utility, but not the measuring the utilities. So here before going to the theory, the law, the theories here, the main concepts here we have to know our total utility and marginal utilities. Means total utility means here, the first we know about the approaches of the utility, cardinal utility and ordinal utility. And the next one here, we are going to the total utility and marginal utility. Why? Because these total and marginal utility will help you to know about the theories. So first here, the total utility means the total utility means the total amount of satisfaction which a person gets from the consumption of all units of the commodity. Means here, if we are using 3 or 4 goods here, but here if we are getting by using one unit here, if we get 20 utils, means the 20 utils of utility here, means by using the second one, if we get the 15, by if we are using the third one, we get the 10, likewise here. So if we add all these 20, 15 and 10, what we'll get the 45, like that you will get. Means here that 45, by adding all these utilities from the different commodities here which we have, we derive, then we get the total utility. Means the total amount of satisfaction which person gets from the consumption of all units we used, of the all units of the consumption. So if we are using the three commodities, from the three commodities, first one gives the 20, second one gives 15, third one gives the 10, means the total will get the 45 by adding all these things. That's why here we can say that total utilities formula, TUN is the function of QN. TUN is a function of QN, where TU is total utility and N is the N commodity. Whatever you have, N commodities may be the apple or orange, maybe anything, any good which you are using. And F is the functional relationship and QN is the quantity of N commodity. So here, but to know the total amount of satisfaction, here we will use this one. TUN is equals to it is the function of QN. And the next it is we go for the marginal utility. Marginal means what? Additional. Addition made to the total utility by consumption of one more unit of the commodity. Means the additional utility derived from the additional unit of commodity is called as a marginal utility. Marginal utility means here, if we are consuming, just now I told you the example from by using the first commodity, first if you take the eatables only, apples you take. If you eat the first apple, you will get 20 units. Means here the 20 utils of utility from first apple, and if you get the by using second apple, if you get the 35 utils from the second, means here the difference between the first one and second one, here we can say that by using the second apple, which is addition, we are getting 35 utils. Means here 35 minus 20 means the second unit. So and from the first apple, second apple and first apple, you got 35 minus 20 is the 15. So that is called as a marginal utility. Means here we will measure this marginal utility with the formula MUN is equals to TUN minus TUN minus 1. Means marginal utility MU is the marginal utility of nth unit. Means here the whatever the good you used, and TU is the total utility of n units. TUN minus 1 is the total utility of n minus 1. Means here n minus 1 is the first good and the n is the second good which you use. That's why here TUN minus n minus 1. The first good, if we subtract the first good's utility from the second one, we will get the marginal utility. That's why here TUN, the nth unit of total utility, and the n minus 1 of the total utility, we will get the marginal utility. MUN is equals to TUN minus TUN minus 1. Here from the I given the example, one apple it gives the 20 utils, second apples 35 utils. Means additional utility means if you fulfill the this formula here, TUN is the 35, n minus 1 is the 20. So this is equals to 15. 15 utils is the marginal utility. It can be also expressed by the formula here. Marginal utility is equals to the change in the total utility by the change in the quantity, delta TU by delta Q. Means which is the marginal utility is 15. The quantity we used is the additional unit is 1. So by 1 is equals to 15. Delta TU means here the change in the total utility. Delta Q is change in quantity consumed. So here marginal utility means what? Marginal utility means the addition made to the total utility by the consumption of one more unit. Means, or we can say by easily here the addition, the addition made to the total utility means here the additional utility derived from the additional unit of the commodity is also called as a marginal utility. We can say simply the additional unit is a marginal thing, because here the marginal is the word which you cross throughout these first year units here. The marginal concept means the addition made to the total, or the change in the total utility by using one more unit of the commodity. When we add the one more unit to the total here, we'll get the addition. So that's why here addition utility derived from the addition unit of commodity is called as marginal utility. Understand? So here we know about the total utility and marginal utility. Total utility means here TU is the function of QN, and marginal utility means here MU is equals to TUN minus TUN minus 1. We'll get the marginal utility. By using this total utility and marginal utility, we can easily understand this theory which is given by the Marshall. That is the law of diminishing marginal utility. Mostly the different marginal utilities of the different units of the commodity is how we are getting. how we are consuming, how we will go for the additional unit. Means here, after satisfying with the first good, we'll go to the second good. Means how we are going here, at what satisfaction levels are there, what are the differences in between each and every consumption of the different units here. It will be known, and it explains the theories of the law of demand also. We can know the demand by this diminishing marginal utility. So diminishing marginal utility, it is originally explained by the H.H. Gaussen, that is Hermann Heinrich Gaussen, in 1884. And Jevons, he's an economist, he called this law. Why? Because the Gaussen, he explained about this law. That's why he given this law of the first as a Gaussen's first law. And the Gaussen's second law is the equimarginal utility. And but this law, the law of diminishing marginal utility, is popularized by the Marshall. That is, Alfred Marshall popularized this law. That's why here this is known by this the law of diminishing marginal utility. The diminishing marginal utility, you can know that in this law we are going to learn how the marginal utility is diminishing. Always total utility will increases, but by using the goods here, how total utility increases, but at what level the marginal utility diminishes here, how the consumption of the consumer behaves when he is having the more and more units for already had stock here. If he's the stock, whatever he used here, if he add for that stock, what happens to the utility? Is it declines? It is increases, or it remains constant? What happens? This is explained by this law here, by the Alfred Marshall here. The definition of this law is the additional benefit which a person derives from a given increase of his stock of a thing diminishes with every increase in stock that he already has. Means here in the example itself, I told you, by using the first we'll use 1 unit, we'll get some utility from that. So, and by using the second unit here, we'll get the utility from the second unit also. So, if we are going on using the 1 plus 1, 1 plus 1, we are going on adding this one. If we are increasing the stock and we are going on adding that, what happens to the utility? Means the additional benefit which is derived from the increase of his stock, it diminishes when we add one more good to the going on increasing. Boys, if students, you take an example of a sweets here. If you are wondered about the sweets or ice creams and cakes, if you are like more and more, means if you're going on eating, how far you can eat? Continuously can you eat? Without any gap, the same quantity, same taste here. If you are going on consuming the same cake or the ice cream without time gap, what happens here? The utility will diminish. You don't want to eat after 2 or 3 cups of ice cream or the 4 cups of ice cream. Like that, the sweets also, 1 or 2 you can eat, will get more utility. 3 or 4 will get more. But after the 4th unit, what happens here? We will vomit everything, whatever. If we are fond of that thing also, if we are going on continuing the use, we are continuing the using that good here, we are adding for our consumption here, what happens means the utility will declines. So here, that was the personal psychological feeling is which is explained by the Marshall here by using the cardinal numbers. Is mostly we can see in this law here. Means this law says that if a consumer takes more units of a good, that extra satisfaction which he is getting, which is derived from the extra unit of good, goes on falling. Means here, I told you the sweets one. If you go in and eat 1 laddu, 2, 3, 4, what happens of can you eat continuously? No, you can't eat continuously without time gap. After some 4th or 5th unit of sweet here, you'll get you don't like that. You'll vomit that. So like that only the utility will declines in every whatever the good you have. If you increase, going on increase. So that is explained in this law. But mostly the Alfred Marshall on these classical economists, the neoclassical economists are that these classical economists, when they are going to explain some laws, means always they depend on some assumptions. Without the assumptions, they cannot define the law, or they cannot prove the laws. So the assumption for they depend on the assumptions what they made on basing on those assumptions only they will explain the theories. So here the assumptions of these law which are explained by the Marshall here, they are given here. The first going to the assumptions here, the first thing you have to understand the law here. This law analyzes the consumer's behavior where here why, because here in case of the single good here we are here Marshall explained this diminishing marginal utility here. So here diminishing marginal utility is based on the fact here that here though the human wants are unlimited here, any particular want is satiable here. We can satisfy any particular want, but not the all unlimited wants. So here, in order to satisfy any particular want, means a single commodity, or when we are using the single commodity here, by consuming that single commodity, the more and more units here, the additional utility which is derived from these additional units of the commodity goes on diminishing. Means this law is based on the single good analysis only. He explains about the single good, the consumption of a single good only. If you they not a multiple goods here, it doesn't work for the multiple goods. It used it or the two goods. It is only used for the single good. If you want to take the apples, means you have to go on taking the apples only. If you are fond of the oranges, means go for the only oranges or any one type of sweet. Means or the goods, durable or indurable goods here. So here this law here, it explains the human behavior. It explains the phenomena of human behavior, and also the diminishing marginal utility explains the relationship between these the quantity of good consumed and the utility derived from that particular good which we consumed. Okay, so going for the assumptions here, I think you all understood there is a marginal utility here. The marginal utility means it is easy to know about this theory. Marginal utility means the addition made by the additional unit of a commodity. And if you are going on making an addition to the already has stock here, their utility will diminishes. You remember, you first remind that thing. And going for the assumptions, the first assumption which is given by Alfred Marshall in order to prove his theory, here first one is the rationality. Means rationality means the consumer is a rational human being. In sense here, always here, they want to maximize his satisfaction from each and every good he purchases. And also at the limit, at the lower price he want to purchase, and he want the higher satisfaction levels. Means here, the rationality means the less he will spend and more he want to extract. Isn't it? That is the rationality. At the lowest price, he want to buy, and from that single good at the lowest price, he want to derive more and more utility. That is the rationality. And the cardinal measurement of utility. Already in cardinal approach, we gone through this cardinal measurement of utility. Cardinal measurement of utility is a concept. That is, the utility is measurable quantitatively. Means we can give the number. If you get by eating one apple, you can say that I got the 10 utils of satisfaction. Means here we are measuring our satisfaction. Measuring the satisfaction is the cardinal concept here, though it can be measured in cardinal numbers. Cardinal numbers means nothing but 1, 2, 3. Measuring the utility in the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 means from the first one I got 10 utils, from the second one I got the 5 utils. Likewise, you can measure. That's what he explained in this theory. And mostly it is dependent on this one only. This theory is dependent on the cardinal measurement of utility only. And the next is the independent utilities. Independent utility is the another one. It is the utility of the commodity depends on its own quantity. Own quantity means if you eat the first apple, you got the 10. Means the 10 is independent to that one apple only. If you go to the second apple, we cannot add the second unit one to the first one. First means the independent. The second one will have the independent satisfaction level. Means it is the different. Utility is different to the second apple. And for the third apple, it is different. Means the independently, it is utility can be measured here. That's why utility of goods are independent. That is the third assumption. And the fourth assumption is constant marginal utility of money. That is the most crucial assumption of the key. This Marshall here, Alfred Marshall. Why? Because constant marginal utility of money here, it remains constant, means it remains invariant according to him. But the money is not an invariant thing, it is a variant one. And according to him here, the marginal utility, in terms of money, only marginal utility can be explained according to the Marshall. So that's why he given this assumption, constant marginal utility of money. Okay, we'll go through, these are the assumptions, and in limitations we will go why, what is it correct or not. And next is the homogeneous good. Homogeneous means the same good, these without any changes. Here they are the both quantitatively and qualitatively without any change. Homogeneous good, the same good. If you are going on taking the apple, means the apple, the same apple only without change in the quantity and quality. Same thing here. That's why the homogeneous good is the another assumption here. And uniform size of goods. Uniform size of goods means the whatever the size is there, the same size must be there without any, not a little one, not a big one, not short or too big. Here means here the uniform size of good here, neither be not bigger nor too small, that they should be identical here. So uniform size must be there. If there is a change in the size of good, means again this law cannot be proved here. Okay, if you first will consume the big size one and next will consume the small size one, means here it will be not correct to this law. That's why uniform size of good is the another assumption. And the next here, there is a no time lag. Continuously we have to going on consuming the goods. Remember one thing, here homogeneous good, the same good, not another, the different goods are not there. We have to use the same good with the uniform size and without no time lag here. Time lag means here without giving any gap in between each and every consumption. After first consumption of first unit here, we have to immediately go for the second unit, second good. Second good means the same good. If you eat the first apple, means immediately you have to eat the second apple, immediately third apple, fourth apple, likewise. Means there should not be any time gap here. If there is a time gap, means again the utility will change. So this law cannot be proved. If we are going on taking without the time gap continuously, means then only this law can be proved. That's why according to Marshall here, the compulsory, the assumptions are that the homogeneous goods must be there, uniform size of goods must be there, and there should not be any time lag, no time lag in between here. And the next one is the divisible of the commodity here. Commodity is divisible, then only we can go for we can prove this theory. Means here not too big or too large as a uniform size, we said no. So divisibility of the commodity is also possible in this one theory here. It is also one of the important assumptions. And there will be no change in the consumer's behavior. This is also the one of, means no change means what? No change in the taste and no change in the preferences here, and incomes, all these things will remain constant. Constant means without change. The income is a constant, it will not changes, and their preferences, their tastes, everything remains constant. Means the consumer behavior, there will be no change in the consumer behavior, everything remains constant here. In case of the income of the consumer will remains constant, and the taste of the consumer remains constant, and the preferences, its preferences also remains constant. Nothing will change here. That's why no change. And next is he'll know about the market. He will get the full knowledge of the market. Market means what? He will know about the demand and supply of that particular good. He will know about the prices of the good. The perfect knowledge and the full knowledge of the market will be there to the consumer here. Before he is consuming here, he will know about the price of the commodity. He will know about the good, about the quality and quantity, at what quantity he will get at what price, and that means here the total, the demand and supply, the structure of the price. He will have the every knowledge about the market. These are some important assumptions. So once again we'll go for the assumptions. Rationality means is a rational behavior will be there. He want more and more satisfaction. And the cardinal measurement of utility, it is a quantitative, it is qualitative and quantitative here. In quantity we can measure, and independent utility, it remains the each and every commodity, so they will have their independent utilities, and constant marginal utility of money, homogeneous goods, uniform size of goods with no time lag, continuous usage must be there, and the divisible commodity can be divided, and there is no change, the constant, the incomes, tastes, preference remains constant according to Marshall, and the full knowledge of market will be there. Okay, and basing on these assumptions, we'll go for the illustration of law. One thing you remember, students, this is very, very important topic for your IPE. Compulsory every time it is covered in the IPE. That's why please try to understand here. And till now we gone through the approaches, cardinal and ordinal approaches, and the total utility, marginal utility, and the definitions of definition of Alfred Marshall, statements, and the assumptions of this law. Now we are going to the illustration here. In this here, you can see the table here. To this table, we can know about the total utility and marginal utility from each and every unit we have. So here, according to this one here we given the total units of apple, total utility and marginal utility. Here in this one here, by using the first apple, we'll get the total the utility is 20. Already we assumed that each and every unit's utility remains independent. Independent utilities are there. So first one will get the total utility 20, marginal utility 20. Same. And the second apple will get the 35 total utility and 15 marginal utility. And third one will get the 45 and 10. Here you can observe that what happening to total utility here, it is increasing by having more and by adding more and more. But here marginal utility is decreasing from 20, 15, 10. And by consuming the fourth one, we will get 50 total utility. 50 total utility and marginal utility is 5. How we are getting this 20, 15, 10? That law here we have is the TUN minus TUN minus 1. TUN minus 1 is the here 20. In total utility of n minus 1 is 20. TUN is the 35. Means TUN minus TUN minus 1. N minus 1 is a 20. The first apple's utility is 20. Second apple's utility is 35. So 35 is the TUN minus n minus 1 minus TUN is the 20. 35 minus 20 is equals to 15. That is the marginal utility. First we have the 20 total utility and 20 marginal utility. By using the second only we will get the marginal, by making addition only we will get the marginal utility, additional utility. That's why here the one more unit consumption given, the 35 total utility and the 15 marginal utility. Third one is the 45 total utility. 45 minus 35 is 10. So marginal utility is 10. Fourth unit is the 50 total utility. So 50 minus 45 is 5. That is the marginal utility. And the fifth one is the 50. Here, the what happening total utility, it is increasing, but at the declining rate, at the diminishing rate, it is increasing. So here it is equalized, is the same. Say fourth and fifth, by consuming fourth and fifth apple here, we got the same utility, 50, 50. So 50 minus 50 is equals to marginal utility is 0. And the sixth unit, what happened here, total utility also declined to 45. And the marginal utility, it is become negative. If you go on using the seventh one, if you add to the total utility here, it is only 35, which gives the minus 10. Means what happening here, the total utility is increasing at the diminishing level. At the fifth unit, it is equal. And after that, it declines, total utility declines. And marginal utility from the starting, it is 20, but it declining. And at the fifth unit consumption, fifth apple, it become 0. Utility becomes 0, and the next, the sixth and seventh unit it becomes marginal utility becomes negative. So here by the graph, we can explain by the graph here. Observe the graph here. On OX axis, we taken the total utility and marginal utility, and on OX axis, we will take the quantity, that is the number of apples here. Number of apples given here is 5 apples. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever in the table there, you can give on this OX axis. On OX axis, always in the OX axis will measure the quantities. And the OY axis will take the measurements of this total utility and marginal utility. By numbers, you will measure our utility. So by using the first one, we got the marginal utility and the total utilities here. The first one we got the 20. And the 20 is the same, the marginality. So the graph, the marginality is the line which is from slope and from left to right downward slope. And where the TU curve is the upward slope, first TU increases from the 20 to 20, 35, 45, 50. The maximum, here the total utility maximum at which unit here? The fifth unit, where the marginal utility become 0. Here you can see where we have drawn here. Here where this total utility is high, marginal utility become 0. Here the total utility is increasing but at the diminishing rate. But marginal utility, what happening here? Marginal utility, which is sloping from left to right, it is diminishing, it is falling, it is decreasing here, isn't it? Means by the additional unit already which we are going on using 1, 2, 3, 4 units, the marginal utility is diminishing. Total utility increases, but the marginal utility decreases. Where the total utility is maximum, marginal utility will becomes 0. Here we can see in the table 50 minus 50 is equals to 0. So the same thing here, it is represented on the graph here, the total utility maximum or the total utility here, where the MU, marginal utility, becomes 0. And when total utility is decreasing means from after the fifth unit, what happening? 650 decreased from 50 to 45 to 35. The same thing here, what happening here, we could represent on this graph here, that is the total utility is decreasing and marginal utility is here totally became negative. Means after the sixth unit you will get the minus 5, in the after the seventh one you will get the minus 10. So here the totally, here we can observe the 3 points here. When total utility increasing at diminishing rate, marginal utility falls. When total utility is maximum, marginal utility becomes 0. When total utility decreases, marginal utility becomes negative. Okay. So this is the illustration of the law here. The mostly, if he is going on consuming from this table and from this graph, you can know how the total utility is increasing up to some limit only it is increasing. After that, it is declining. And when the total utility is declining, marginal utility becoming negative. Okay. So I think you all understand, students. And if you once again, you have to remember the marginal utility means the addition made to the additional unit. Means when we are adding the one more unit here, the total utility increases, but marginal utility will decreases. The difference between these total utility from the second one, if you minus the first one, we will get the marginal utility. Okay. So this is the law which is explained by the Alfred Marshall here. By taking these, they are single good, only by using a single good. By using here, we used only single apples only. Apples or oranges, you can take any one, but it is a single one only, single good only. So here, the next one is the limitations. Limitations means when there are assumptions, compulsory limitations will be there. Means the criticisms. Whatever he assumed in this law, in order to prove this law here, here we can say those are not unrealistic conditions. Why? Because the first one assumption is a rationality. On that rationality here, we can say the rational consumer. Rational consumer here means consumer should be an economic human being with the rational behavior. Rational behavior means if he is it is not a correct one. If he is under the influence of the intoxicant, means if he is a drunkard here, what happens? The utility of the later units will raises. Later utility will rise, and in the beginning, but ultimately it will falls, and it even becomes the negative. And if the goods are not independent here, the law will not work. Means here complementary goods can be taken here. Complementary goods means what? Here by using the single good here depends on another good. If you are going to use the pen here, it depends on the ink here. If you want to make the tea, means we have to take we need the sugar also, the tea powder also. Means the tea powder in order to drink the tea means that we need the not only milk here, tea powder and sugar we need, the complementary goods we need here. So if the goods are not independent, this law will not works. And the next here, the marginal utility of the money is not constant here. According to him, what is the assumption? Marginal utility of money remains constant, but it is not constant. According to Marshall's utility here, the utility from a good can be measured in terms of money here, according to him. Means here to measure the utility in a cardinal numbers in terms of money, marginal utility of money must remain invariant according to him here, but it is not done. Why? Because here normally here our desires for money will increases. Money will increases as we have more and of it here, or the marginality of money will not be zero. Why? Because definitely it falls when a person acquires the more and more money. Why? Because marginality of money diminishes when stock of money rises. When price rises, what happens here? The real income increases. When real income increases here, the compulsory marginal utility of money will also it diminishes. So that's why here, if the price falls, means real income increases and marginality diminishes. If the price raises, means marginality increases. Why? Because real income will decreases. So it depends on the income, but here it is not explained by the Marshall. But according to him, it is an invariant, or money marginality of money remains constant. It is not a realistic assumption. It is a most crucial assumption. And the next one is the homogeneity. Homogeneous means if the goods are not homogeneous, this law will not work. The same good must be used. Next one is the goods are too big or too small here. It is then also the problem will arises. Means if the I told you that if it's same size, uniform size must be maintained according to him, but it is not possible here. If it is not too big or too small of goods, it may not work. This law will not work. And the durable of goods also here, this law cannot work. Durability means if you have in our houses, we will use more durable goods here, freezers, tables, chairs, every day we'll use them, but daily we will not buy in the market here. So for these goods also, this law will not works. And this law does not work if there is change in consumers' incomes and tastes.
Kind of close the session.
Okay, so here these are according to this law does not work if there is change in consumers' incomes and tastes and habits here. That's why here he doesn't explain about the income effect and substitution effect here. That is also one of the criticism on this law here. So these all are, if the person, this law will not work in the case of the collections also. If it is the diamonds or the stamps or the coin collection also, this law will not works. So here's the limitations. In the next class, we'll go for the importance of the law. Just go through the lesson.
Thank you, ma'am.